SimCity 2013 is a SimCity game that put a lid on a coffin for the SimCity franchise. It was released back in 2013, as the name suggests, and made some radical game changes that not many people agreed on with the game developers. We will explore those changes in this video. If you are interested, I also covered SimCity 4 and SimCity Societies in our past videos. With that said, let's begin! So what is SimCity 2013, or as people would call it, SimCity 5? If you played any simulator games, then this one is a city simulator game released in the year 2013, as the name suggests. You might be more familiar with the still ongoing competition of the series, City Skylines, released in 2015. Prior to its announcement, the German magazine GameStar leaked the concept art of the game when a pre-rendered trailer was leaked on their website. The official announcement took place on March 6, 2012 at the Game Developers Conference, which is an annual conference for video game developers that is still active till this day. Initially, the game was announced to be available for Windows and later macOS. EA showcased two new trailers for the game at the Electronic Entertainment Expo 2012, showcasing the in-game graphics for the first time during its development. In August 2012, applications were open for people to sign up for a closed beta test of version of the game that were later released in January and February 2013, which also served as a test to see how the servers would behave under load. But that is also where it took a turn for the worst. The initial game released for the North America region suffered multiple severe issues, particularly regarding the now widely spread issue of requiring a constant internet connection to access the game rather than, a single-player game being accessed offline as it should. After the game was made available for purchase through EA Origin Store, the high volume of users attempting to download and connect to EA servers caused network outages. Players reported experiencing frequent problems during gameplay due to outages such as loading taking forever, disconnecting from game, which again should not be an issue on a single-player game with a multiplayer element, crashing and loss of saved game data, since again, I repeat, should not be stored online if it's a single-player game. Game developers, please learn from those mistakes. I mean, heck, it's 2025. At this point, you should already have figured it out. I mean, the launch was so bad that people compared it to launch of Diablo 3 back in the day, which was released a year before and had similar problems. Oh, and the game engine, that had problems too. Glassbox engine, which is SimCity 2013 built on, had issues like pathfinding where Sims in City would take the shortest route regardless if it was clogged, instead taking the route with most available capacity, as well as Sims not living persistent lives but rather going to the nearest available workplace for work and nearest house after work hours. To address the mess they released the game in, they basically made a patch that addressed some things like disabled non-critical gameplay features such as leaderboards, achievements and region filters, and said that over the weekend more servers will be adding, citing that over 700,000 cities were built by players in a span of 24 hours. But regarding the topic of Stop Killing Games initiative, this game also faced issues that people are fighting for, as Nathan Grayson from Rock Paper Shotgun said that they treated the game as service rather than game and that it was unacceptable how EA was handling the situation. They got themselves in and how they did not learn from previous launch failures of other publishers. The launch failures also led to fans of the series filling a petition through We the People on the official White House website, calling for an industry-wide return policy for video games that rely on remote servers and DRM to function properly, but as we know it, nothing has been done to this day regarding that, and publishers still repeat same mistakes over and over. Along with many cosmetic changes, SimCity uses the new Glassbox engine, which we mentioned briefly in the history section of the video. It was basically a game engine developed by Magix, which takes a different approach from previous simulation games and technically should provide better experience and optimization for the game. It was also a downfall of always online requirements, as players discovered offline mode can be easily turned off with a single line of code from developer tools. But back to the topic, Andrew Wilmund said in a quote regarding the new engine, "We try to build what you would expect to see, and that's the game," meaning that the visual effects such as traffic, economic troubles and pollution will be more obvious. Two new other features are multiplayer component and finite resources. Unlike previous games in the series, the game has a new road system which allows you to build roads any shape or form you wish, as well as zoning tools which would adapt to said roads, which can lead to more creative expression when building the cities. There are multiple tools like line tool, rectangular road squares, swiping arcs, circles and best of all, one for making free-form roads. Cities in a region are connected to each other via predefined region networks such as highways, railways, and waterways. Elements such as traffic and air pollution are visible flowing between cities, as per my research, but I was unable to replicate this in my game, unfortunately. Or maybe I was just not polluting as much, since that is one big change too, and that is map sizes. And you are limited to what you can actually do with your city and need to think tall rather than wide. Cities can trade resources and share public services with their neighbors like garbage collection or healthcare, or even firefighters, police, whatever public service you can think of. Cities can also pool their collective wealth and resources to build a great work, to provide benefits for the entire region like a massive solar power plant or an international airport. The larger the region, the higher is the number of cities and great works that can be built. The terraforming, same as in SimCity societies, is gone, and creative director Ocean Quigley stated that all of the terraforming in the game is going to be at the civil engineering scale and will be the natural consequence of laying out the roads, developing zones and placing the buildings. Then we have new modules to government buildings that can be attached to the main structure to provide extended functionality rather than having 10 of the same police stations around the city. For example, you can add more cars for existing police stations, more fire trucks to fire stations, more garbage trucks and incarnators to the garbage building, and other fine additions, but again, those are also limiting factors how much you can expand, as the size of the map is to be desired. Fun info to mention is that the user interface you see on the gameplay was actually inspired by Google Maps and infographics, and was designed to convey information to the player more clearly than in previous SimCity games. Animations and color-coded visual cues that represent how efficiently a city functions are only presented when needed at any given moment. For instance, opening up a water tower instantly changes the landscape to a clearer world, where the density of water is recognizable, and clicking on the sewage tab will immediately show how the waste of citizens is flowing, and where the system is over capacity. But then, the issue of finite resources. Some are renewable, such as groundwater, but that is it as far as my knowledge goes. Lead gameplay engineer Dan Moskowitz stated, "If you build up an entire city on economic basis of extracting a certain resource, when that resource runs out, your economy will collapse." Which is realistic, but also severely limits on how each city develops and focuses on, as they all end up on the same page after a certain while when resources have been extracted. Different from some previous SimCity tiles, each type of zone is not divided into density categories. Instead, the density of the roads next to them determines the type of buildings that it will be created there. This means that there is only one of each zone type, and the density of the buildings is determined by the density of the placed roads. There is also a more diverse range of roads to choose from, starting at dirt roads and going up to 6-lane avenues with streetcar tracks. The density of the roads determines the density of the buildings next to them, so dirt roads will only develop low-density buildings. And last but not least, specialization. Players can specialize their cities in certain industries such as manufacturing, tourism, education, or others. Each has distinct appearances, simulation behaviors, and economic strategies. Oh, and there is a simulated global economy, but I never saw that one work for me, since all the resources are always at 6000 for import and export. And now the last, multiplayer. This is the first to feature 4 online play since SimCity 2000 Network Edition, made in 1996, allowing for regions to house multiple cities from different players. But apart from that, the resource sharing and trading, as well as joint work on great works, such as archaeology, there is no further depth to it. Oh man, the plot, again. Well, the SimCity 2013 has an amazing plot, and the plot is that there is no plot. Again. What did you think, that this time a simulation game would have a plot? Yeah, neither did I. After all, it's a simulation game. You are your own story maker. But with that out of the way, let's get to the reception. Oh boy, the reception. Well, sit down, get a drink, some pizza or whatever you prefer, as there is a lot to cover for a SimCity 2013 reception. This time we actually have 2 receptions, a pre-release reception and post-release reception. So let's start with pre-release reception first. So before launch, SimCity 2013 had fans buzzing about it all over the world basically. The new Glassbox engine promised deep simulation with every citizen having their own job, home and daily routine. The graphics looked stunning, the curved roads that they introduced that I raved about were a first for the series, and previews from the press events were glowing. So what went wrong? EA and Magix sold it as the next generation of city building, smarter, more realistic and connected. The always online requirement, at that time it was framed as a feature allowing cities to trade resources, share utilities and create a living, breathing region with friends. On paper it sounded revolutionary. But then the post-release reception came and the release day hit, and the dream collapsed. The always online DRM became a nightmare when EA's server failed, as we mentioned before, leaving many players unable to even start the game for days. Again, as we mentioned before. Those who did get in found that small city sizes, broken traffic AI and missing features that older games had years ago, well, are missing. And let me tell you, they were not happy with that, because, you know, if you have features in one game and then cut them in another game, or let's say a newer version of that game, it's basically you are releasing an inferior version to past versions of the game, with improved graphics. Wow. Review scores dropped after initial glowing previews, and the backlash was intense. Players accused EA of misleading marketing, and petitions demanded an offline mode, that we also mentioned. Eventually, EA patched in offline mode and fixed some bugs, but then the damage was done. I mean, SimCity 2013 launch became one of the gaming's most infamous meltdowns, and a cautionary tale for the industry to come. And trust me, we had many more bad launches like this one, but you know, this was first, or among the first. Yay, they should get an award. But yeah, conclusion time. SimCity 2013 is a strange case in gaming history. On one hand, it had some truly innovative ideas, such as curved roads that we mentioned for the time because, everything was square, city specializations, modular buildings, and a beautiful presentation. On the other hand, it's remembered more for its disastrous launch, restrictive design choices, and the always online DRM fiasco than for its actual gameplay. Even with patches and eventual offline mode, the trust between EA, Magix and their player base was already broken, and sadly SimCity 2013 ended up being the last mainline entry in the franchise, leaving City Skylines to take the crown as the go-to city builder. So the main question, if you made it so far in the video, that's amazing actually, and you are amazing, is it worth playing today? Well, it depends. If you can look past the small city sizes, simplified mechanics, and its infamous history, there's still a fun, visually appealing game under all of the things that we mentioned just right now. But for most city building fans, it's more of a fascinating cautionary tale than a must-play classic. Simply, SimCity didn't just simulate cities, it simulated exactly how to kill a beloved franchise. And that hurts because I know I want SimCity, you want SimCity, everyone wants SimCity, City Skylines, but still, there needs to be a healthy competition between a SimCity or simulation games of a city. My god, I'm struggling. But you get the point, if not, it's kind of hard to translate what I have in my head into English, into words, and into, words from my mouth. But yeah, again, with all of that said, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Leave a like, share, subscribe, do what you do best, and I guess stay awesome. There's nothing else to do.
Snosh, no quip finete, Vitrum Evelyn S.